This is a Ford Model T from 1911, and under the hood, it's hiding a secret.
See, this car is actually an electric vehicle. It was recently converted from gas to electric by this man, 80-year-old former electrical engineer Robert Knight. And it's not just Robert or antique Fords. As EV adoption increases around the globe, a string of startups have emerged with the aim of retrofitting and upcycling gas cars into electric ones. Okay, so firstly, what does it take to convert a car? Well, as Robert found out, it's both simple and really hard.
So the initial conversion was a year, but since then I've been modifying it, and I've had mistake after mistake.
Step 1 is to drain the fuel tank and completely remove the engine block. That can create a space where batteries and an electric motor can be installed. Next is the task of hooking that motor up to the drivetrain and wiring in a battery management system. After that, it's just a case of hooking up the new drivetrain to the controls, or in Robert's case, installing these various switches. Ford purists, look away now.
I've had one or two adverse comments about wrecking a 1911 Ford Model T.
Robert tells me he's managed to get around 25 miles of range out of his conversion, which is just enough to get him to the local shops and back. And the conversion cost? Under $2,000, most of which came from the sale of the engine.
So it's trivia, absolute trivia.
So if it's possible to do a relatively cheap conversion yourself, is it possible to make money from doing it? To find out, I've come to UK-based EV upcycling startup, Lunaz.
Each of these cars may look like an original classic car, but they've actually all been completely stripped and rebuilt from the ground up with a brand new electric powertrain. And that's the only bit of that car I can afford to touch.
That's because the starting price for the conversion of these classics is around $370,000 and up, which is around the same price as buying a competition condition classic. But it's not just classic cars that Lunaz is upcycling. They're also taking commercial fleet vehicles, like these garbage trucks, and running them through a similar upcycling process. Here's CEO David Lorenz.
Some of the trucks behind me today, these are 7-year-old vehicles. They had done 100,000 miles over their 7-year life. They were tried and tested by the OEM for 1 million miles. Fundamentally, it is so logical to upcycle the vehicle that already exists to clean air powertrain.
David told me that for Lunaz, upcycling actually presents a faster route to market and means that their trucks can be thousands of dollars cheaper than buying a new EV equivalent.
We do 80% less work. All of the bumpers, windscreen wipers, mechanisms, we don't have to face these challenges. These vehicles have been so well engineered in the first place.
But the main reason David founded Lunaz was that he believes by upcycling, you can remove more carbon dioxide from the loop than if you buy new EVs.
If you go and replace 5,000 vehicles with clean air powertrain vehicles, that's fantastic in one sense. But what happens to your old 5,000 vehicles? They're going to end up on cargo ships, they're going to end up in less privileged countries, and they're going to sweat longer hours than you were using them for, naturally producing more emissions.
So if retrofitting and upcycling could potentially present a faster path towards hitting climate targets, and there are businesses out there making money from it, why aren't more OEMs doing it?
Well, companies like Ford and GM have made some tentative steps into retrofitting by offering electric versions of certain components. But according to Patrick Hertzk, automotive analyst and partner at McKinsey, automakers have bigger fish to fry.
They have their hands full scaling up standard EV production, getting gigafactory supply of batteries within their supply chain, trying to drive costs down.
Another reason is that releasing retrofitting options could potentially sabotage sales of new cars, as some customers may choose to retrofit instead of replace. But possibly the biggest reason is that it can be very hard to turn a profit from retrofitting everyday vehicles.
After all, while these classic cars and garbage trucks may look very different, they're both expensive enough to make retrofitting worth it. The classic cars retain value, and there's economies of scale in retrofitting a small fleet of identical vehicles. Or, as David said,
there is no vehicle that can't be upcycled to clean air powertrain. It's just, is it a cost-effective solution? What is the cost to this?
But there may be something that could help shift the balance and make retrofitting more popular. Subsidies.
The extent that these retrofitters can fully access additional subsidy schemes or regulatory encouragement can certainly have an impact.
And if you want to know what that might look like, it's already happening in France.
There, retrofitted electric vehicles are eligible for a few $1,000s in government subsidies. And you have companies like Renault teaming up with retrofitter Refit to offer conversions of cheaper classic vehicles, and startups like Transition One offering conversions on light city cars.
But here's the thing, even with subsidies, it can be really hard to turn a profit. While I was reporting this story, Transition One stopped trading, as the company said it no longer had the financial means to continue. So, without significant government incentives, it's unlikely you'll see OEMs getting into the retrofitting game anytime soon. But keep an eye on those retrofitting startups, because they could have a lot of vehicles to work with.
While EVs may have made up 10% of all new car sales last year, they're still a fraction of the estimated 1.4 billion vehicles on the planet.